It's still the final day of winter. It's sort of late afternoon. It's going to be getting dark soon, so I've slowed time down to real time to go through the update that has finally dropped for the map. Hello again, I am Jim Bob, and welcome back to this special sort of interlude episode of Seasons in the Valley. So we still have snow absolutely everywhere, which means some of this stuff is going to be a little tricky to show you, but we'll get through what we can. Now, the reason I'm doing this on my actual file is because there are a couple of negatives that do need to be addressed, and you need an existing file to be able to show that off. But there are a lot of positives to this update as well. So the first thing is that these gates that have always been wedged open are now animated, so we can actually close them or open them. You know, when you start a new map, they will automatically be closed, and you'll have to physically open them to get into your farm. That's the first little touch there, which is quite nice. And then obviously we have these barriers up here now, so we now have safety rails to stop us from driving off the edge. You see me up here with my telehandler nearly drive off here a couple of times, and now I have that little safety rail to stop me from actually doing that, which is fantastic. Now these are sort of segmented, so we actually have 3 control boxes up here. There's another one just there, and then another one on that sort of far wall just over there as well. And as you can see, each panel controls 2 segments of fence. I really like the fact that it's segmented. So basically what we can do is, you know, this is usually where I load my bales up to. We can lower this one down, we can load the bales up here, and we can keep the rails up everywhere else. And then also, once the bales are up and we're clear of there, we can simply raise those back up again, so I don't end up accidentally sort of backing myself off and falling off here in my telehandler, because that would be disastrous. Nice little touch that, I do like that. Next up is the toolbox. Now we have our toolbox just here, and we don't need this anymore. We bought this because the workshop here was charging us €1,000 every time we wanted to do any kind of, you know, alterations to our vehicles. Well, that's now been fixed. So we go into customize. You can see here, if I change to a different set of wheels, you can see that no longer am I getting charged a €1,000 base price on top of the cost of whatever parts we're buying. That's great to see. It means that we can now actually kind of get rid of this toolbox here. We don't need it anymore, or we could possibly move it to another location to give us a bit more sort of flexibility with our vehicles. I might move that down to I might take that down to the sawmill actually and stick one down there, so that we can do the repair work we need to on our wheel loader and our little skid steer down there. I'm going to jump in the T6 so we can kind of drive around and show you some of the other features. There's another one just outside actually that you may well have missed in the sort of update text. Now, one of the things that they did say they were going to do was add a second access point on the cow pasture, and that has now been done. Whereas before this was just a straight piece of fence, we now have a gate just here. So you can actually swing this gate open and you can get in and you can do whatever you want to do on this piece of grass over here. Obviously we mowed this in the summer for extra grass, but we had to go up along there, up that side wall, in through that gate, all the way sort of down there, underneath the bridge, come back up and then into this section here. Now we can literally just drive our mowers from right around the corner straight into here. And it's a simple little thing. It didn't need to be added, but I'm so glad that it has been added, because it just makes getting to this section of this field a lot quicker and a lot easier than having to kind of do that little assault obstacle course through our cow pasture. I do appreciate that. Another thing that's been amended is the silos. So you can see here, well, you might not immediately notice, but this grate has had a facelift as well. It's had some texture changes, it's been redesigned slightly, and it looks much nicer and cleaner than it did before, which is great. You know, I mean, it was nice before, it was kind of functional, but it now just looks a little bit crisper, a little bit sharper, a little bit nicer. And of course the capacity of the silo has been upped as well, from the original 800,000 litres, which was already a lot, to a whopping 2 million litres. That's huge. Huge capacity upgrade there. I don't think we'll ever ever need that amount of storage in our series lifetime, but it's there. So we have, potentially a lot of additional storage for us to use. Up here by the cows, we have another little scenic addition here. We have these sort of calf stations just here on the outside of the cow barn itself. These are obviously completely static animals. They're not representative of any sort of animals or calves being born on our farm, because we don't even have a single cow. It's just a nice little scenic addition, though. I do like that. And there are lots and lots of little scenic bits that have been added to locations all around the map, and obviously this is just one of those areas. So as we move along, you can actually see we have another one right here. Now this was just completely empty before, and we had our bales right up against the wall. Now we have this kind of yellow block here. I'm not entirely sure what this is, and then we have an old bucket on the top of that as well. We have obviously a little barrel and some bits and bobs thrown in, and none of this was here before, nor was this old gate either. This was just completely empty in here, and we had our bales sort of up against it. Now we have those little bits of scenery in there as well. And there may even have been bales added up there. Can't remember if there were bales there or not. So lots and lots, as I say, of little scenic tweaks. And you can see another one here. We now have this canopy. We can't do anything with it, but we now have these canopies. Look, I wonder if this one opens. No. We have these canopies here added to our cow area. Sorry, our sheep area. Nice little touch there. That's been a new scenic addition. As I said, loads and loads of these have been thrown in all around the map, and some you won't spot. Others you might well do straight away, but yeah, I didn't even spot that when I did my first kind of preliminary look at the update. So just spotted those right now. So here is the next major feature, and as you can see, we have another one of these control boxes. Now these are fitted to every single grass meadow that has these fences around them. Now not all of the grass fields do have fences. You can see we've got, if we open up the wrong map, let's open up the one that doesn't have a bright white background on it. Field 84 down here. Now this doesn't have fences, it never has, and it's meant that you've been able to sort of plough these fields together, but there was always that little niggle of the fact that 83 here was completely isolated, and so you had to come down and around and then along and then back around that way. Now 83 can be added into the mix as well because of these little control boxes. Now these will remove the fence. Nice simple button press and boom, the fence is gone, and the gate at the front of the entrance has gone as well. Now a button press will bring them back, and these are always located at the entrance to each of these fields with gates and fences like this. Wherever the entrance of the field is, that's where you'll find your control box. Nice and simple, just press a button to turn the fences on or off, and they control each field independently, so you can turn them off on some and leave them on others, or you can turn them all off if you want to go around and tag them all, or you can leave them all on. It's entirely up to you what you want to do, but it does give you so much more options when it comes to actually combining your fields. 86 is this huge, great big grass field here. It's around 450,000 euros to buy. Very, very big, very, very expensive. Now, with the removal of the fences that go around it, we can plough it into field 55 and 56 and 57, and you could even carry on all the way down this way if you wanted to as well, make that all one big field. Now you can't do it around here, but I don't think, possibly with 93, you might be able to. I haven't looked over there yet, to be honest. We'll check that out on the way. But if you can, then that means you've got all of this area here that could all become one great big field. It opens up so many opportunities and possibilities for resculpting your land all across your farm. And I really, really appreciate that coming in. And just in case you're worried or wondering, these control boxes do not have collisions, so you can drive through them. You don't have to worry about accidentally clipping them with a piece of equipment as you're moving around the field. Never going to be an issue. The only thing is, you'll just have to remember where the control boxes are if you ever want to bring them back up again, bring those fences back. Now, one unfortunate side effect of the update is this. Now, you may remember the very first episode of this series, we spent a lot of time cutting down these trees and grinding them up and chipping them so that we could join our two fields of 92 and 63 together. Well, unfortunately, thanks to the update, they're back. And they're not the only trees that have reappeared on my map as well. If I quickly scoot over this way, more recently we did a little bit of deforesting here on the sort of the left-hand edge of field 51, and some of these trees, not all of them, but some of these trees are back. So you can see this big oak tree here has returned. This oak tree here has returned. And so has this one here on the corner. Now, as I say, not all of them have come back. All the sort of pine trees, fir trees that we cut down, I think, for the most part, have stayed gone. There might be one or two that have possibly come back, but it looks as though most of them have stayed gone. But I'm not entirely sure how it's decided which trees go and which trees come back. You know, which ones stay gone and which ones don't, and which ones will reappear. Now, it may be that, you know, the fir trees that are planted in forest areas will stay gone. It may be that they come back. I don't really have, you know, a direct comparison that I can make for you. Now, I'm just going to quickly jump over to the sawmill, because if you remember, we did some work here in the summer and we cut down a load of trees. Now, these are still gone, but we left the stumps. We never ground out these stumps. Now, it may be that this is the reason why these trees haven't reappeared, is because I never got rid of these stumps. So technically it thinks those trees are still there because the stumps are still there. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe these trees would stay gone even if the stumps were gone. Maybe it's only the trees in non-forested areas, you know, what I call scenic trees, that have come back, and that forest trees have stayed gone. But you do need to be wary. If you haven't already updated your map, be very wary and be prepared for the possibility that if you've done a lot of sort of logging and you've cut down a whole load of trees, you may be in for a rude awakening when you log in and then see a whole load of trees growing up through your fields. It's something that you need to be wary of, because this is a problem that has happened recently on another map which has just been updated, Spectacle Island by Alien Jim. He felt that there was probably too much logging, which was a sentiment I definitely echoed. I felt there was way too much logging involved to get your fields cleared in that. And he's kind of come around to that idea, and he went in and he recently, on one of his updates, actually removed quite a lot of trees from some of those starting fields, and I think maybe repositioned one or two in the process. But in doing that, what it's done to the people who'd already cleared all those fields is it brought a load of trees back, and they were then started growing in the middle of fields with crop on them. So it's something that you do need to be aware of, because you might suddenly find that you're going to have a lot of trees where there shouldn't be trees. Alright, let's cycle back to our T6. Oh, one other thing while we're talking about the sawmill. You may remember that exclamation symbol that kept showing there that never did anything. That's gone. That's been removed and taken away. So we no longer have to worry about that just being there for no reason. You know, it has actually been removed, which is kind of cool. So we're going to head into Villeneuve, which is our main kind of village in the heart of the map. Now, this has undergone quite a bit of a change. A lot of little additions have been made to Villeneuve over the... actually, while we're here, let's check the pigs out. We were talking about this a moment ago. Let's actually quickly check out the pig farm. So I'm going to drive in. Looks like I left the gate open last time I was here. I thought I'd closed it. Now, do we have a removable fence control over here? Yes, we do. Look at this. Fantastic. So we can actually remove the fence, and it doesn't just remove the fence. As you can see, that hedgerow goes with it as well. So this is now all completely opened out. So you can see we can just walk straight across into field 55, which is something we couldn't do before. Now we can. That's pretty awesome. And then obviously there is field 86, and again, if you bought field 86 for 450 odd thousand or whatever it costs you. The control box is just over there. You could remove that fence out as well. All this could be made into one big field. So that's a really, really nice little thing, that we can actually turn off those fences there. And it doesn't just get rid of the fences, it gets rid of the hedges as well. Let's just turn that back on again for now. There you go. So you can see our hedgerow that runs sort of in through the fencing, that returns as well. I wasn't sure if that fence would actually have a control toggle, but as you can see, it clearly does, which is, I do like that. I'm very, very pleased with that. It will make certainly mowing a little bit easier. We don't have to worry about getting right up against that fence and catching it anymore. We could just remove it. It was no longer an issue. So we're going to blast our way down the road into Villeneuve so I can show you the changes to Villeneuve. And Villeneuve has undergone quite a bit of transformation. Oh, and it's also important to note that the road itself has undergone some improvements. Now, there are still a couple of little bits where, you know, the tiles aren't quite as smooth as they could be, or, you know, perhaps you'd like them to be. But by and large, all those points that we had where our snowblower was catching quite badly, most of those have been smoothed out and leveled out. There are still one or two that are a little bit rough in places, but it's a massive improvement on what it was, and I'm really glad that that's happened. And here we are, the first major change here in Villeneuve. We're at Mother Earth, which is a brand new sell point. There are two brand new sell points on the map, and they're both here in Villeneuve. In fact, the other one's just right around the corner. But this one is a potatoes and sugar beets sell point. This is a root crop only sell point here. And as you can see, we've got this really nice kind of building here, this sort of loading bay with these sort of big green doors for getting inside the warehouse, and obviously the little side doors there. It's a nice little design building. I like this. And then we have our sell point grate just here in the corner. We have boxes and boxes of pallets all over the place. These ones here are all empty. I like the fact that we have a mixture of empty and full pallets, because these ones here, these are all full of beets, as you can see, and then these ones are all full of potatoes, along with a forklift to help move them around. So that's a really kind of nice little thing to see, a mixture of both crops in pallets and some empty pallets waiting to be loaded as well. I do like that. And really easy access as well. You can see we have one way in just there, and we have another way in just here. So you're never going to have any issues about having to sort of get in and faff about trying to reverse through a really tight area. You can just literally just circle through like that. It's really good to see. That really bad bump is still there on that kind of little rise just past the pedestrian crossing there. But as I say, most of the other bumps have been smoothed out quite significantly. Now, from what I've seen in the update log, access here is supposed to have been made easier. Now, I can't really see what changes have been made to this. You know, I don't know what has happened here. It's possible that maybe the road has been made a little bit wider in places, or maybe one of the footpaths has been removed. It does say in the update log that access to the store been made easier, but I don't see any change myself. I'm not entirely sure exactly what it is that's happened just there. So as we drive along here, we have two new changes here. This is the first one. This is a new fuel point here that we can interact with. So you can see just fitting up my T6 just here, which is kind of cool, at this Minol garage. It looks fantastic at night with these lights. You can see, you know, got this nice sort of glow just sort of around the top section here in the shop with its glow here as well. They look great at night time. And then on the other side of the road, the garden centre has had a little bit of a facelift, and now has the second cell box that's new to this city, or this little village. So whereas before this was just an exit area, now we actually have this sell point here as well. Now, one thing that's important to notice about this sell point, if we take a look at it, is that you can sell all of your grains except soybean. I don't know why it doesn't take soybean, but you can sell your wheat, your barley, your canola, your sunflowers and your corn, but not your soybean. And I don't know why. I really don't. But it's just one less, one less place that you can sell soybean, but it's one more place that you can sell some other of crops as well. So again, I really don't know why soybeans have been left off that list, but there you go. There is the addition of a new sell point here at the garden centre. Now there is another little change that's been made, and that's just around the corner here as well. Now, it took me a little while to track this one down, and I don't think I've ever been in here before, so I don't know exactly what's changed, but there has been some scenic change inside here. Now, like I say, I don't ever remember coming in here. I don't even remember if this gate was here before or not, but we now have this kind of sort of old dishevelled yard in here. And without having been in here before, I don't really know what has changed a lot. I'm guessing that this was here, but there's now scenic bits that have been placed in. So you can see we've got this yellow block here. Got some little scenic placeables. Over here, this looks really dishevelled and kind of battered. And I did notice that this was featured in the sort of update video that Black Sheep posted, what, a month and a half ago. We've got these liquid pallets just kind of stacked up just there. We've got this old seed tower that's been shoved away in here with some old pallets of seed. And around here we've got this knackered old lizard tractor. The wheels are falling off. It's in a horrible state of disrepair. And so is the building itself. You can see one of the doors has been taken off and thrown in just there. The other one's just here on the corner. It really does have this kind of old run-down, no longer used, this completely abandoned kind of old little farm area. So I think that maybe this was still here, but it's just been tweaked a little bit to add in all these kind of scenic elements around here. I might be wrong, but as I say, I don't ever remember coming in here before, so I can't really say exactly what has changed in here, but it was featured in the video, so something in there has changed. Now, let's see. Need to go to the BGA to show you what's changed at the BGA. There is still more to show you in Villeneuve, but we'll kind of tag that on the way back, I suppose. So the BGA has two little changes. One of them kind of significant, the other one not really that significant at all. Doesn't really, do that much. But it is kind of something that is probably worth pointing out, I suppose. But the other change is the ramp, and that is definitely something that is a big change. You can see sliding on that snow there, power sliding around that corner. And here we go, this is the ramp. Now, this ramp here before was a kind of a static ramp that only came up, I believe, to about this kind of height. And it was a fixed ramp at a shallower angle. And now we actually have a ramp that can be raised and lowered. It goes up higher, and it goes all the way up to these sort of shredders as well. So it's going to make backing in with some of these smaller trailers much easier, I think. Be able to get right up to the edge of these and then just tip into the shredders. So you don't have to worry, I don't think, about falling in the gap. There is no actual physical gap until you actually jump in to the shredder itself. But there's no gap that you need to worry about falling between the ramp and the shredders. It's just like one solid plane, which is kind of really good. It's going to help with tipping no end, I think. And you have the option, as I say, to actually remove the ramp completely now if you didn't like it. And the other change, it's not very significant, but you may remember on my tour of this map a long time ago when it first came out, I did actually drive through this barrier just to show that it had no collisions. I think these are new as well, actually, these little concrete blocks that have been added. I don't remember those being just there, because we did have this rear access over here, as you can see, and you could kind of come in through this gate. Again, no collisions on this gate. You could kind of come in through here, you could make your way around here, and if I remember rightly, those concrete blocks weren't there, and then you could kind of drive through that gate as well. Well, that gate's now permanently wedged open. We now have these concrete blocks here as well, so it kind of stops you from doing that. Not quite sure why that change was made, but it has been made. So There we go. Right, that's it for the BGA. Trying to think if there are any other changes over here of any significance. I don't think there are. I had a quick look at Agro Life and Agro Straw. Couldn't see any real changes of any note over there. Had a quick look at the sort of yellow farm on the sort of lower left hand side of the map. I didn't see any changes of any significance over there as well. There may well be some little scenic tweaks that have taken place, but I didn't really spot anything. So the next change to show you in Villeneuve is going to be the animal dealership. Now, we actually talked about this, I think, just a couple of days ago, just a couple of episodes ago. We talked about some of the scenic additions that were going to be coming and exactly where they were going to be coming. And one of the things that we did was when we were picking up our sheep, we kind of pointed to the area that was just barren and empty and said, something's going in there. I wasn't entirely sure what was going in there at the time. I couldn't really make it out on my phone when I was looking at the preview video, but obviously that has now gone live and that has now taken effect. So as we drive into the animal dealership here, the slaughterhouse, you can see this is the change. And I thought it was just some placeable sort of bits of equipment, but it's actually a little animal display area. So we actually have a few sort of static sheep, and we have a few static cows as well, kind of added in, including a little Lely Luna cow scratcher added in there as well, and some of these sort of small food troughs dotted around the place. You can see we've got another one here. Ah, that's what these yellow blocks are that have been upturned. They're troughs. They're Cosnet troughs. Ah, that makes sense now. Yeah, like this, look, see? Cosnet troughs that are just upturned upside down. I wonder what they were. Now we know what they are. That's kind of cool. So yeah, that's that little change that's happened over here. We've had this little sort of animal display area added to our dealership, and I like that. You know, as you know, I'm a big fan of static animals, you know, on maps in areas to actually provide little bits of additional life and character to a map, especially to a dealership. It's always nice, I think, to see those inside a dealership, because it really does just give you that extra sort of feeling. And is it me? Was this gate not here before? I don't know. Does that have any controls on it? Let's no, there's nothing there to activate. Look, it's just permanently wedged open. Maybe that was there before. I don't remember seeing that, but that might be a new little change as well. That's it for the major changes in Villeneuve. There are no more, but obviously it's changed quite a fair bit with all those little tweaks that I've kind of shown off. I don't think there are any other areas on the map that have undergone any significant transformation. I haven't found any. I may well have missed one or two. I did check over here because I thought that this might be an area where there's something would have changed, but that all looks pretty much the same. You know, I checked over this farm as well, and I didn't see anything that had happened in there that had changed dramatically. Again, there may be a couple of scenic little bits that have been added in, and it's quite hard to see as well given the snow. But there is one other thing, one other little fix that I want to show you. Again, this goes back to my map tour. I think it was the map tour. I don't think we actually saw it in gameplay, but if we did, it would have been a very, very early episode. I'm pretty sure it was a map tour only. Now, you may remember that when I was doing the tour, I came along this top road here, and as we rounded this corner and approached this straight, we saw some cars coming towards us, and then all of a sudden one of them just jumped about 10 feet into the air and just flew in a straight line across. That has now been fixed. I knew it would at some point, and in a way I'm kind of sad to see it go, because it was always good for a chuckle to see these cars just floating along here. But that little bump there, you just saw it take, I think that was one of the points where it potentially took off. There's another point potentially just over here. There's a little sort of tweak in the road just here, and I think this might have been the point here where it took off as well. Got that little change in elevation just there, that little step. And so we used to get cars that would come down here and they would come a certain distance along, and then they just fly about 10 feet across the road, above the road. That's been fixed now. So that is the traffic changes that have been listed in the changelog there. We no longer have flying cars. We are no longer, in the land of DeLoreans running on garbage. It makes sense to fix it, but in a way, I'm kind of sad to see them go. So there we go. That is the changes to the Valley, the Old Farm by Black Sheep. Now, obviously, a lot of this is all very, very positive, but the big downside is those trees coming back. Now, we've got off quite lightly in some respects. We only really have a few trees that we need to deal with, sort of between 63 and 92, and then maybe just the odd tree here and there. Other people may not be so lucky, and I'm kind of glad that we didn't do too much sort of deforesting of the map, because potentially that could have completely ruined our second year. As it is, I'm going to have to spend the first part of tomorrow getting rid of those trees when I should be ploughing. So I think I might just grab our Brabo Xylor from our sawmill, take that over and just grind out those trees as quick as I can and get straight onto fieldwork. I think again it all, I suppose, depends as to whether or not this snow has cleared overnight as well. That could be another issue that we have tomorrow. So there we go. That's the end of this kind of little interlude episode. Normal episodes will return next week, and next week on Monday will be the start of year 2. We will have officially completed year 1, and year 2 will start. In fact, I may actually go and get rid of those trees this afternoon before I skip forward. It'll just be a little tricky to actually see where the stumps are. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll get rid of the trees today, and then we won't have to worry about the trees tomorrow. We can get straight onto field work. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with the start of year 2 here on Seasons in the Valley very soon.